Hello everyone, this is the first session I am going to give on Docker and containerization. We are going to learn in a step-by-step manner what is Docker and what is containerization, what is the benefits of Docker, why we have to go with the Docker, and how to proceed with the Docker, and what all the installations are required to proceed with the Docker. We will see what is Docker and why we are going with that. The best definition, it says Docker is a popular open source platform that allows user to build, test and deploy applications quickly. So any application once you develop in .NET, Java or any technology, the deployment is very important. So this is a open source platform which we use to deploy our application, to build application and deploy it to the server. So we can deploy our applications using Docker very quickly compared to old technologies. Why we need to go with the Docker? The bad old days. So if you imagine the old days, earlier we used to deploy our applications per server. So if you want to deploy your multiple applications, maybe your applications developed in Java, .NET or any other technology, you require to have multiple virtual machines, and if something goes wrong in a virtual machine, your business will go down. When applications go down, business will go down, and there is no alternative way. So it was a very huge time consuming process. So if you have 10 applications, you need to purchase 10 servers, and you need to install dependencies required for your application in all the 10 servers, and it is also time consuming for developers and deployment team, everyone. And also it will be more cost consuming if you are going with the old bad days, like if you are purchasing the multiple servers to deploy your applications. So it takes more time, it takes more money, and it is not efficient. You need to install the dependencies in each and every application. So this is the very good example I can show you, uh, the difference between the old days of deployment and the current containerized applications. So the left side, whatever you are seeing here, the left side, it's a containerized application which we are deploying our applications via Docker, and the right side image, it shows the virtual machines which we are taking for our applications. The infrastructure, you see, this is the infrastructure. Consider the olden days, we have an hypervisor. On top of that, we are getting the virtual machines. This virtual machine is required for each application. That means app A is required one virtual machine, app B is required another virtual machine, app C is required virtual machine. So what you need to do, each virtual machine should be having each one operating system. That means all the dependencies of your application which is required. For example, you implemented your application in .NET, so, and you are deploying in virtual machine A, in virtual machine, this virtual machine, you need operating system there, and whatever your Java or .NET application is required dependencies, those dependencies you need to install here. The application dependencies you need to here in this virtual machine. The applications has to be installed, dependencies must be installed in the third virtual machine as well, and with an operating system, right? So this will take more time. Now you compare with the containerized application, the containerized world. We are in a containerized world, how we are deploying our application. So now we have the Docker. The Docker will be installed in the host operating system. This is an host operating system on top of the infrastructure. The infrastructure is meaning it is having like CPU, memory, operating system, everything on top of infrastructure. On the host operating system, you will be installing the Docker, and that's it. The Docker will be there. So what you will be doing is, all your applications, application A, B, C, D, or you consider different environments, you are creating a containers, right? So one Docker is enough. This not required to install your new operating systems in each environment. So app A, app B, app C, so these are the same application you consider. You no need to not required to install operating system in different containerized applications manner. So that means your application A, it uses your host operating system only, application B uses your host operating system only, application C uses your host operating system only, app D uses your host operating system only. So how this will going to run? So that means whatever your application, Java or .NET application, web application or API which you have implemented, that will be all the dependencies, everything will be merged in a single object that we call it as an object. uh, we call it as an image. That image will be having all the dependencies, and we are running as a container. You not required of any new operating system, and dependencies are separately not required to install in each containers, because all the dependencies will be as part of image. So we will see how your application dependencies will be merged together and we are making it as an image. We will see in a great details in further slides. So what are the advantages we have with the Docker? Due to multiple virtual machines, there will be inconsistent behavior between each environment. Right? For example, you are deploying your application using virtual machine, and you have the QA virtual machine, pre-prod virtual machine, and prod virtual machine. So maybe due to operating system is different in each environment, QA, pre-prod, and prod, and dependencies which we installed in each environment, QA, pre-prod, and prod, dependencies versions are different. Due to this, what happens, the behavior of your application will be different in QA environment, behavior of the application will be different in pre-prod environment, behavior of your application will be different in your prod environment. So that will be a inconsistent behavior across the environment. That is a major disadvantage if you are going with a virtual machine or any olden days deployment process. Once we deploy applications in multiple servers, there will be minimal chance of inconsistent behavior because Docker code and dependencies. When we use Docker and containers and deploy your application in QA, pre-prod, and prod environment, there will be minimal chance of inconsistent behavior across the environment. That is because container will be having all the dependencies which are required for your applications to run. So we no need to worry, we no need to install separately between QA environment, pre-prod environment, and prod environment. All the dependencies will be part of your Docker image which we are going to create for your application. All the dependencies will be merged and creating an image and container. Everything will be packaged in an object. That object we call it as an image. So due to this, we are not, there will be inconsistent behavior will be very minimal. So there will not be any inconsistent behavior across the environments, that is in a QA, dev, and pre-prod. And we have application behavior will be same in all the developer machine. That is not only in the environmental wise, we will be having behavior. Consider you have the project where the developers are working, 10 developers are working, each 10 developers are having a Docker is installed in their machine. So when they are running your application as a container and an image, the as all the dependencies of your application is packaged together and we are running as a container, each developer machine what your application is running, it will be equal. That means application behavior will be same in all developer machine, because dependencies again we package together in a Docker image. That is another advantage. Developers are not required to install and uninstall dependencies when they are working on multiple projects. Consider any developer he is working on the multiple projects. One project is using Node 21 version and another project is using Node 22 version. When developer is working on project A, he is using 21 node version and he want to switch application A to application B. He has to uninstall the application A which is the node version 21. The node 21 he has to uninstall and he has to reinstall node 22 because application B supports node 22. So when he wants to switch back to application A, again he has to uninstall node 22 and he has to install node 21. So this will be a headache for developer as well to uninstall and install. So it will be a big problem for the developers to multiple applications when they are when the application multiple applications are required different versions. So this problem also can be avoided by using a Docker because all the dependencies will be packaged together in a Docker. What all the tools are required when you want to proceed with a Docker? So the one, if you for us to learn and to proceed, we require a Docker desktop. Once we install the Docker desktop, one will get Docker engine and Docker Compose as well with the Docker desktop. We will see in a great details in a upcoming sessions what is Docker Compose and Docker Compose. And Docker engine must keep and running when we run the Docker commands. And we will just quickly see overview of the Docker desktop, how it looks. So this is a Docker desktop. I installed the Docker desktop version v434.2. So here this Docker desktop, it will show the containers and it will shows the images, volumes, builds, other things we will see in a great details in upcoming sessions. So as I told, when you implemented your application in a Java or .NET, we are going to create an image for your application. So that image is consists of all the required dependencies. That image will be having all the required dependencies. Say for example, this is an image which is created, this is having all the dependencies, this is then another image, this is another image. So these are the multiple images you can see here. So once you click here, you can run this image and you can click on run. There is an optional parameters. You have to keep the port numbers, host port number, on which port number you want to run your application, because if you want to run your application, the port number is required to expose your applications to outer world. So we have to, once you click on run, the container will be running. So we will see what is this container and what is image. So once you run your image, so container will be running in this tab. You will see the details of the container. So how do we enable your application to work with a Docker, right? So I'll show, we can open the Visual Studio 2022, and when you are creating an application, so we can enable the Docker in Visual Studio itself. So I'll just quickly show how to create how to enable the Docker for your application. So you can, once you open the Visual Studio, and when we are creating a project, click on file and create a project. And here it will show whenever you are creating a project. For example, I am going to create ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller project I am creating. When you click on next, give your project name, Docker demo something, whatever the project name if you wish to create. So once you create, you will go to the next tab and it will show the framework is required 6.0 long-term support, and you can enable the Docker here. This Docker will create one Docker file in your system. With that, we can create a Docker image, so that in your application, whatever you are writing the code dependencies, everything will be defining in the Docker file. And where your Docker you want to build your Docker image. So that means whenever you are creating image, right, you want to use the operating system as Windows or Linux. This you need to define. So once you create, it will just create a project with the Docker file. Say whenever you are creating an image, right, you need to see in which operating system you are creating an image on. When you create image and run as container, you need to define initially whether your image has to run in a Docker in a Windows operating system or Linux operating system. That we need to we have to select it, because once your image is created in a Windows operating system, it will not work in a Linux operating system. And this is a Docker file. This is a Docker file. It got added by default whenever you are creating a project. That is because you have enabled Docker while creation of the project. We will see in a great details, like in the Docker file we have from command where your base image, where we are taking. So the base image you need to define, and work directory, it's an app, and I am exposing the 80 and 443 port number. and to run my application, because my application is a .NET application, right? So I need SDK 6.0 as a build. So from where I am getting this SDK 6.0? I'm getting from one of the library, mcr.microsoft.com. From this library I am fetching one image, and this is one registry, this is also registry, and this is mcr.microsoft.com is a registry. And what is this? This is a repository. So from this repository 6.0 tag image I am fetching. This is another repository. From this repository I am fetching 6.0 as a build. So I am just using these two images, that means these two dependencies which are required for my applications to run. So it will be packaged and we can create image with that. So that means all the dependencies we are trying to keep with your code itself. In your code you are writing a code in controller model and view, etc, etc, right, in the same project, because same project I am declared as a docker file. This docker file I am defining the required packages are required. So once you are running this image container in any of the environment, it will, the behavior of your application will be same. So because dependencies you are adding here itself. Then we have the work directory ser. I am copying cs project to this folder. I am restoring the project using the cs project, and I'm copying all the restored files in src docker demo, and I'm run .NET build command. I'm just running the build, and I'm publishing the project to the folder app/publish, and I'm taking a base as a final, and I'm considering the work as app, and copy to the publish folder. And this is an entry point I am defining docker.dll, so which is required. So that means this is like high level. I have explained how the docker file it works and each command. In upcoming sessions we will see how to create an image by using this docker file. How to create image by using this docker file we will see in a great details. So what are other things we will also see in upcoming sessions? We will see how to uh, create an image by using a docker file. We will see how to create a container with the image, and how to run the application with the container with the port number. Those details we will see in upcoming session. So whatever you feel, this is the as this is the first session of docker, which I have explained, like, you know, it's kind of a overview of the docker and how to quick start with the docker. So that this will give like how this will be benefited to for the beginners, and to who wants to start in a start with the docker. This will be helpful. And if you have any comments and any feedback or anything if you want to share, please feel free to add your comments in the comment section box. Thank you.